Welcome to the most electrifying channel in all entertainment. It's your boy PK. I'm here with my boy Sick, and we're here to discuss the state of Nintendo and also the Nintendo Direct. What's happening, Sick?
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Everything is all right, and pretty. We got some things to talk about Nintendo wise. I mean, we seen this Nintendo Direct, and I know I feel some type of way. I'm not sure about Sick, but maybe he can elaborate on how he feel.
Yeah, well, actually, I think we're of the same mind today.
Yeah, so Nintendo did their Nintendo Direct. We were waiting for months to see what they're going to do for the remainder of the year. And I say I feel pretty disappointed. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is what I mean by of the same mind. Nintendo utterly disappointed. In more ways than one.
So first I want to talk about is all year, I would say, at least Switch wise, there's only been two big games that launched, and that's Animal Crossing and uh, Paper Mario. Outside of
Yes,
that, no real big bangers. And here it is, we going into the fall. I knew something was up once June came around, and there was no announcements for anything new. I
oh no, what's going on? Hello? Oh no. Oh, sorry, folks. We're having some technical difficulties here. Seems like PK lost. Oh, there he goes. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You were breaking up there for a moment, for like 30 seconds of
No,
digital noise.
yes. Sorry about that. So I just was saying that after 6 months, and we've in June they didn't really announce nothing new, and June is usually when E3 happens. And I remember Nintendo saying they were going to be at E3 um this year, and now we know why. It has nothing to do with the pandemic, it has nothing to do with E3. It's more or less they didn't have anything to show.
That's the real disappointing. But the thing about them, especially that it can't be about the pandemic or anything, is they made this announcement early on. So before the pandemic can even have been a scapegoat, they had made this announcement that they're like a president at E3. So I don't, it's just like they knew well ahead of us, like almost a year ago. They didn't have much in new software, and I don't understand what they were doing.
Yeah, so I think this, especially after watching this event. Okay, yeah, it's 35 years since the first um Super Mario, which is great, but wouldn't you expect a new Mario game to be announced? Maybe a brand new title, and not just a whole
Half-assed,
bunch of
half-assed. Let's say half-assed. You know,
it.
renditions of, except for Let's Sunshine. We'll get into the details of that in a little bit, but a paltry offering if they were going to do uh, a remaster collection of Super Mario Brothers titles. You know, and I agree. At least at the end of that, if you don't announce, you know, a nearly completed or at least in progress new Mario game, some news of the next game in the series, just nothing. Very just makes very little sense.
So I like to talk about the stuff they did show. Okay, um, starting with the I think what was the first thing they showed was um, a retro Game and Watch handheld. Basically, they're going to resell their Game and Watch, and it's going to have the a version of Super Mario on it. But it's for $50, and the thing that what started this whole thing is it's going to be available this fall, but only until March 2021. Okay, and it seemed like that was the theme. Um, First of all, it to me with the start of this saying it's going to be only be available to March 2021. It's like, why March? Why you choose that month? And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not really excited for this Game and Watch thing, but I guess it'll be the first time it's in full color on this LCD screen. Well, what do you think about that, Sick?
It's really suspect. This feels like the Nintendo Mini, Super Nintendo Mini. Like the strategy they employed with that, they made it real limited, thus highly coveted. Just because they're rare, not even because of their intrinsic value. That's quite disconnected from the desire to get one because it's limited, and they're trying to push this same narrative here with this. Which to me makes no sense because Nintendo games don't drop in price. So why have it limited? It's the scarcity of it isn't gonna make Nintendo any more or less money because they've decided to only make a certain amount. I don't get there's the only reason to do this is just for the drama it creates and the attention it creates, not for any direct monetary reason or strategy reasons, because there just aren't any.
Well, they definitely want to push a lot of merch and a lot of different things. I mean, you could tell on the stream that was their goal. Is anything Mario is basically they're going to sell. The thing about the handheld is they already have one, and I don't think, especially charging $50 for this old hardware. I mean, it just seems
well. Actually, is it old hardware? Because isn't this like a actual LCD screen and not like a watch LCD? So it's actually a color screen playing Super Mario Brothers.
well,
They've had one of these before.
Yeah, the original Game and Watch was not in color. It's basically the same. It looks exactly the same. It's just in color this time.
Oh,
And
so it's also the LCD. So it's like a watch LCD still, but just in color, not a whole
yeah,
LCD from a laptop or whatever, just really small playing Super
right.
Mario.
It's still the old. It's
Oh,
it's old tech. It's just you can play
in color,
Mario.
and you play Mario as the game for 50 bucks. What? No, that makes no. Wow, I'm sorry, folks. I didn't understand apparently what was on offer with that. And even then, what I was imagining, a little LCD screen playing, 8-bit Super Mario Brothers, for 50 bucks didn't make a lot of financial sense to me. But this is far less than that. I mean, wow. I feel more disappointed about this than I originally did. This is insane. Who would want this?
Well, there might be people who have nostalgic things, right?
Yeah.
I just say, look, I think there's a theme here, and this is why we should just kind of go over all the little things they.
Okay.
And one of the things that they shown was a Mario, 35 Mario, basically an online Mario game where 35 people kind of play, but they kind of play against each other, and depending on how well you do, you can knock out your opponent. And when I look at that, I'm thinking, okay, this is like Tetris 99. I'm not sure if you played that, but that's pretty much how that is. Is basically you play Tetris and knock out, 98 other people until you number one in a battle royale ish kind of style. Now this seems cool and everything. It doesn't seem like a bad thing. They're gonna make it free for Nintendo Online subscribers, but again, it's only available until March 2021. this is definitely a theme here. Why are they choosing March 2021, and why is it limited time?
This is the same thing we were saying before, and I can only assume the same reason. This is just for like a marketing thing, like to keep Nintendo in the forefront and in the mind because they really have no new games for now. But why not put the effort that it took to do this? Which this wasn't something you could do in a month, and set up. This was something they had to program and had in develop. This is probably something they had in development, a demo or something that that they made and they didn't use, and now they're bringing out the woodwork, out the dustbin and polishing it up to do. So I don't. It makes little sense. Why make it limited if it works? Leave it out there. It's not you're not charging for it, or you are in a way with it being a part of the Nintendo Online service. But this is typical Nintendo confusing everyone who follows video games because they're in their own lane and there's no apparent outward logic or sense to the moves they're making, and it just leaves you with your head turned a little, like what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. And then if we move on to the next one, it's what did they show? Mario Kart. Um, I forget what it's called. Is it Mario Kart Live Tour or something like that?
Yeah, live home circuit.
Live Home Circuit. There you go.
Yes.
So this seems interesting. Using mixed reality to play Mario Kart. You set up your own race in the house, and you race carts with cameras on them, and you use your Switch as a controller. Now this seems interesting, though I have some drawbacks. This whole package is $100. Not to mention they show only two carts. So regardless of that, I guess without playing the game, how do we know what to expect out of this? Is it only Luigi and Mario? How long do these batteries last? Because if it's only 20 minutes, then that's way too much to ask for $100, or even for a mixed reality set.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about this, but it does look interesting. Unlike the first two things where I'm left, completely flabbergasted. This, I instantly see the appeal. This is, this harkens back to, a lot of the inventiveness in the 80s and 90s. I know we're the same age. So you would remember these things, things from Tiger Electronics and Milton Bradley, and they would have, recognizable names like whatever new Disney movie du jour or Nintendo characters or whatever, and they would make, interesting or sometimes interesting, devices and toys. And this is another one of those. I gotta say, I really do like what I'm seeing here, but yeah, it does pose a lot of questions. But like you could do more. This is the kind of thing like they do with amiibos, and you see where they go with that. But they're not taking it to that level. But at least what's on offer does seem very interesting enough. It really is. I think the afterword here is cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so as interesting it is, they need to show more. This game is developed by a different small developer that they hired to do this, and nothing against them. Just I again just want to see more, see it in action. Everything looks good on a commercial, but actually seeing it in uh, actual play is probably going to be the key seller there. So
I doubt the video quality or the lag will be as good as they're kind of implying it will, because what they're implying on screen is like near perfect. And as the battery starts to wear out, will that get worse? That's another one of those questions. So we really can't tell just from a commercial, because the commercial is gonna promise a perfect experience. Doesn't mean it will be.
right, and I wanted to say that I just want to keep the viewers in mind that this is also, excuse me, this is also coming out this fall. And the next game is also coming. Well, I will say the next game won't be out to 2021, February 2021 to be exact. And that is um, Super Mario 3D Worlds. Now, Super Mario 3D Worlds is still not a new game, but a Wii U game being ported to the Switch. And it's almost like there's more Wii U ports than it is brand new Switch games on the Switch. And not that I'm against playing old games, but you're making people pay for the game if they already paid for it again, and you still haven't brought out anything new. Um, I'm not going to say I'm a big fan of Super Mario 3D. I thought it was okay, but to bring it out again, add one dungeon, and then charge another $60, and we still got to wait to 2021 to even play the game. I don't understand this. Um, Again, there's not much to go here. It's just another Switch port, and I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm downplaying, but it's really just frustration, right? 35 years of Super Mario, and the best you can come up with is um, a bunch of remakes or rehashes of Switch hardware, and then re-release it and make us pay brand new money for it. Um, let's move on to the actual games that the next game, which is the big one. The big game is Super Mario 3D All Stars or something like that. I can't remember the exact name, but it's gonna have Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. Not Mario Galaxy 2. I don't know why they didn't put that in there, but just those three. And the reason why this is important is because I'm sure a lot of people would love to have these games because this is the first time that they put together a 3D Mario collection like Mario 64 being redistributed by Nintendo that I could think of. But at the same time, this will drop this fall. But again, this is only available to 2021 in March 2021. And they charge us $60 for this. One thing that I noticed that Sick pointed out was they advertise that this is a port that was actually redid for the Switch. So basically stretching it 16.9, giving it some high res, maybe high quality textures. But Sick noticed that Mario 64 looks the same. It's still 4.3. There is no high quality textures. It's still not in HD. It's pretty much a port. They didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, that's right. Which is extra funny considering because of two events that have happened in recent times that help to prove the point. One is the Giga leak, the leak of many of Nintendo's property assets, source code from most of the Mario franchise, couple of Zelda games. So in this case, Mario 64, the full source code for Mario 64 and all related assets and source code required to build your own copy of the game, and that's one event. The other event being a reverse engineering project that recently completed, where they were able to reverse engineer the source code from the game itself, and it's nigh on 1-to-1. Especially now with this official source code leak, they're able to compare it, and there's already if you look around the internet, there's a port of Mario 64 with widescreen, high resolution. There's text, high quality textures and stuff that are out there. And I'm sorry about this, my phone. But they put in a lot of work to make Mario 64 into a modern port, and this is just the community, and they did this within like a month after the reverse engineering of the source code happened. Nintendo has the source code, so they could have done within the same amount of time, or probably less time, because it wouldn't be the combined efforts of volunteers from across the internet. This would have been a concerted effort of employees of Nintendo with the assets and everything they need, the original assets and everything they need, officially, to have made an excellent port of Mario 64, or at least stretch it to widescreen and give the the high resolution treatment like they're doing to Sunshine. It really makes very little sense when folks complain about Nintendo and the way they do things on a technical level. This is one of those things where in the previous situation here that PK was talking about, where they're selling these older Wii U games again on the Switch. If they had a online store that didn't just link to your system and link to your account, so they knew that you bought the game before, maybe they could sell a DLC pack with 4K. Okay, fine. I think people would be accepting of that, considering what we actually have now. And so that is to say, Nintendo's technical chops and the way they offer things is just really strange, and it leaves you always wanting for more. And they never seem to offer what they should have offered in the first place, that any fan or potential customer would have known to offer if it was up to them.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? It's the same thing. When it comes to Nintendo, people give them passes. And I feel like we should stop giving these guys passes and call them out for the things that they're doing and not doing. Let's be real. If this was PlayStation or Xbox and they were doing something similar where this fall we have nothing to offer you but some rehash old stuff, we're not even doing any touch-ups on. We're just going to resell you the games that you may have already bought again. Not saying, and they would not get away with it. You know how much flack they would get, especially Xbox would definitely
Absolutely.
get a lot of flack for pulling some move like this. And I'm tired of people blinking an eye and saying, well, it's just Nintendo. No, it's just not. I get it. They don't really have a direct competitor. And that's perhaps why they seem to show that they have less than a high opinion of their fan base. Right? Sick, you and I have been around for a long time, but these kids that are now becoming gamers, what Nintendo is doing is not enough. And definitely giving us rehash versions of old games is definitely like a smack in the face. And you're trying to, and going into the fall and saying you still need to buy a Switch, not because we have anything new to play, but because we have all these old things that we could resell you over and over. And, like me, I own a Wii U. I'm not saying everyone did, but I already own all the games that they ported to Switch. I'm not buying Mario Kart again, not the old one. How about you make a new Mario Kart for Switch? Then I'll think about purchasing that one. I mean, the key thing here is I'm not saying those games are bad, because those Mario games are good, and at the very least set the standards of how 3D platforming should be. At the same token, why are we spending our time reselling every generation the same game? Why are we doing this? What are we gaining as a Nintendo fan? What happened to Metroid 4, Prime 4, that was announced in 2017? We only seen a freaking title, like just a screenshot of the title, and then we didn't hear a peep since. Now they're giving us games, and 3 of the games that they shown are limited time, only available to March 2021. And I am so speculating, what does that mean? Why is it 2021? I've never seen, and we all seen games go out of circulation, but I've never seen a game go out of circulation in 6 months. And it's intentional. In 6 months, all these games are going out of circulation.
March 2021. It makes no sense at all.
It makes you wonder what's going on in March. What are they planning something big? And even if so, why are they asking people to spend money on games they're not going to support after March 2021?
It makes no sense. If then listen, there's a lot of rumors about the Switch Pro. You know, something I'm hoping for, especially with the reveal of Nvidia's new cards. We know the up to date technology that Nvidia has on offer, and they have a deal with Nintendo. So the next Switch variant of whatever is gonna be powered by Nvidia hardware, and a lot of folks are hoping for that new hardware. I know I am, and
I'm sorry for interrupting. Sick. I see April in the chat. She says she prefers Super Mario 64, and I think we all like Mario 64. You can see it on the screen there. The only problem is it is no different than the one you played on the 64. They did not upgrade it at all, and
yeah.
and that is one of the things key issues I have with this is that they're selling you exactly the same game without doing any touch ups.
Yeah, it's just raw. It's not even in widescreen, not even high resolution. It could have had the same flat textures and all of that, but if it was just high resolution, it would have looked better and widescreen by default. Right analog stick support for the camera. If if you feel, which has been done by the community within like a month or so, they added it on. This shouldn't have been hard for Nintendo. This is what they're selling, but they're selling it for a limited time. None of this makes sense, as we said before. It's just really weird. But what I was saying before, like this is just Nintendo as always. Like they're reselling us old games, and it makes little sense. If they had their technical chops in a row, they did Virtual Console and it transferred over from the Wii to the Wii U. But when they started over again with the Switch, where it was this Nintendo Online thing, where it's like a mini micro Netflix of Nintendo games, and that's it. Not really too much on offer. Why Virtual Console didn't just continue on, in its third iteration is beyond me. These Mario games should have all been a digital collection you get, and then if you want a physical version, in March that comes out. You put out the digital version now, and then in that March 2021, when all development, all whatever updates you plan to put are done, and you got version final, no more bug fixes in the future, you put that to disk and sell in March. Hey, if you announce a Switch Pro right after that, I'd be buying that twice. I'd buy the digital one just to have my account and just to archive. I would have that disc on my shelf to go with my new Switch Pro. But once again, Nintendo's not doing what you would think would be the move to, give the public what they want, because they're willing to spend the money. It's Nintendo. As you said before, Nintendo gets a pass. So why not take advantage of that to sell something that people want? And because it's what people want, they'll accept a couple minor things being wrong with it, or kind of minor moves. But when you just give them bare bones, who's gonna want that? And it just leaves everyone confused.
So yeah,
Pro better answer to all of this. If it's not disappointing,
that's what I'm saying. Is I feel like they arbitrary in creating demand to get people to go out and spend money on these games because they're only going to be available to March 2021, right? They're trying. It's almost like they're deliberately. They don't have nothing to show, so let's try to get people to spend a whole lot of money on our old stuff because we don't have anything new to show. And as a Switch owner, I'm looking for something new, right? I want something new. Where is your Metroid, right? You're not even showing a new Pokemon game this year. There's not even. They usually do a yearly release. Not that I'm happy about it, but hey, there's no new Pokemon. So you have nothing big. They usually bet on Pokemon every November, and yet there's no Pokemon. There's DLC, but that's still the same raggedy game they gave us last year. And I'm sorry for the people who enjoyed Pokemon Sword and Shield. There's nothing wrong with enjoying it. I'm just saying they could have done a lot better with what they gave us. Also feel like they are getting away with murder by creating demand for old games purposely just to get cash grabs. Because let's be real, that Mario Kart game is nothing different than Mario Kart we already played. Of course, the Mario 3D Worlds is a Wii U game. All these, even the Super Mario Collection, is games we already played. Nothing new, nothing new, and it's scary because here it is. We're going into 2021, and we don't even know what direction Nintendo's going. They showed the only games they show for 2021 are games they already made and that we already bought. No new games. So we don't know what the future may hold for them. And they didn't even, and at the end of the day, to even give us a little bit of excitement, there was not even a Smash Bros. Um, hint of what the next Smash Bros. Character was going to be.
Yeah, that was the ultimate insult there, because they usually at least do that all the time. They didn't even do that. No new Smash Brothers. It was just like, it's the capper, and it sounds almost like a petty, you know, or something you would hear sarcastically in like a YouTube video from, I don't know, Rooster Teeth or something, you know, or game trailers. But there it is. It insulting even.
As consumers, we definitely need to demand more from Nintendo. They've been giving us the bare bones of nothing this whole generation. I know a lot of people have been praising the Switch and all that, and I'm not saying the Switch shouldn't get praised for some things, but let's be real. When it comes to content, online, social, all of that stuff is lacking. I mean, they don't even Nintendo Online doesn't even have a way to send messages or invites to your friends to ask them to play games. So what's the point of having a friends list? It's almost like you got to have their personal information just to get with them because there's no other way to communicate to your friends. I don't understand their mentality behind a lot of this. I mean, when they made Mario Odyssey, that was a great Mario game, a great entry. So is that all? They're just going to bring out one Mario game per Nintendo console and then leave it at that? Is that all we're doing? I mean,
Where's the next Zelda? I haven't heard anything about Zelda. And let's not forget, folks, this Zelda, they did what they did with the GameCube Twilight Princess again. That was a game for last generation. That was a Wii U game that got delayed, and they kept delaying it so it could be a simultaneous launch. Like, the Switch doesn't even have a dedicated Zelda game yet. It's been a while
no,
where we
because
haven't heard anything about any Zelda at all.
You're right. You're right.
anything.
Because the Breath of the Wild was a Wii U game.
That's right.
Even though it was a great game,
Yes.
it was not designed for the Switch. It was actually ported to the Switch.
As are most of the best Wii U games already. Like, a good chunk of the Switch's library are Wii U games. That's not hyperbole. That's straight facts. Like, the sky is blue. A large chunk of Switch games are just Wii U ports. And there's really nothing wrong with that. But once again, the whole digital thing, they could have had that where, maybe you pay extra to get the higher res, better performing version, but at least backwards compatible, proving that you've owned the game already. You don't have to buy it again. Or
yeah, that's why I was always nervous buying digital with Nintendo because here it is. You don't even know how many digital games I had on Wii U, but now I don't have access to them.
Oh, I can only imagine. As far as the Switch goes, when you buy games digital from Nintendo, it's locked to the system that you bought it on, not the account.
It is now, but the question is, even if it's so even if it's locked to the account, the question is, will they still support the account after the Switch? Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I can go in and look at my Nintendo account and see my purchases, but does that really matter if I'm not going to be allowed to download it on a Switch?
Yes, it's like stuff on a shelf you can't reach. Makes no sense. Like, I mean, but it's good to hear. I had no idea about this. So you're saying if I had a Switch, I bought some digital games, then it breaks, or I have
no. You can download anything you buy on Switch digital, but what I'm saying is, if you buy them on Switch digital now, whatever the next iteration of the console comes out, will you still be able to download it? Because I have Dynasty Warriors 3 that I wanted to play on my Switch. I can't do that because I bought it digital on Wii U. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. This is the type of thing, it would be a foregone conclusion if it was Sony and Microsoft. Even Sony, who wasn't so hot with that, especially lately, it would have been a foregone conclusion for both companies. But for Nintendo, it's like even this minor thing we got to check on. We can't be sure because Nintendo they just don't get these things right. It's quite unfortunate.
I mean, yeah, and I feel like they should. And I'm sorry for interrupting, but I feel like they should be adapting and innovating, and also thinking about, hey, in today's time, let's be real and be honest. People's cell phones have more capability than the Switch. People's tablets are more powerful than the Switch. My thing is the Switch is underpowered and does not hold that many features.
It was old when it came out, 2 years old when it was released.
I mean, heck, they just got YouTube not too long ago, and they still don't have Netflix.
Yep, yeah, knock on wood. They still don't even have Netflix. And they only just got YouTube. Meanwhile, on the 3DS, when you had the 3DS, you had free access to the internet. You could watch YouTube, you browse the internet. I mean, it was a 3DS. It was very low res, but guess what? It was there. But
you could on the Wii U.
Yeah, you could on the Wii U, but you don't have that on this. It just makes no sense. And they should have extrapolated from that free online that you had with the 3DS, that Nintendo Online would have paid for that. And if you increase the price of that Nintendo Online, to account for that, that would have been fine. Like, people would have seen value.
I honestly think they're just charging. I don't think they made any changes to how the online work. I think it's the same online that was on 3DS and Wii U.
Right.
This time they just put a price tag on it.
Yeah, put a price tag on it, make some profit on.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, had they added that functionality to offset the development costs, had they increased the price of Nintendo Online, because Nintendo Online, it doesn't cost a lot of money, but because they're just charging for something they used to give away for free anyway, it's all profit. They add that little bit more to account for the development cost of that feature. That would have offset that, or at least been a little bit of a extra profit on top. That cherry on top of the cake. A really sweet cake that's threatening to ruin your teeth. How sweet it is. And it's just perplexing from every angle you could possibly think about it. Nintendo's online and offline strategies when it comes to these sort of things. They claim to have respect for the legacy, and they continue to treat it the same way. Let's not forget, 5 years ago, what happened with the 30th anniversary of Mario? What did they do? They took the ROM of Super Mario All-Stars, I don't even think the Plus World version, and tossed that onto a disc and sold it for $30. Happy 30th anniversary, Super Mario Brothers. Literally, am I exaggerating? That's literally
so every milestone, you're saying they don't come out with a new Mario, they just rehash something old.
Yeah, they just package a new emulator, ROMs it with whatever newer Mario games in those 5 years have been released, or whatever you missed out from that last time when those games were new. So because at that point it would have been a decade now. Now you want to add them, there you go. Very literally, that's 2 for 2 so far. On the 40th anniversary, when they have a 4K handheld Switch, will that be what they do?
So I'm not sure if they're going to come out with a new console, but it's definitely hard to swallow that you want someone to buy a Switch and you don't have anything new. You're not showing us any reason to own a Switch right now. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. I like the games that they have, but you're reselling the same old crap. You're not giving us nothing new to say, I'm glad I made this purchase.
Exactly. At least add some superficial things. Hey, you have Mario Kart 64. You make that widescreen, adds a little bit of online play. Real basic. We understand you're Nintendo. But if you added that one step, because you're Nintendo and you were getting this pass, you would get a pass on it being bare bones. And if it was online, for $9.99, I'd buy that.
Well, it's not going to be $9.99, but the kicker is
$14.99. But yeah,
no, it's going to be $60, and they're definitely going to make you. And then after March 2021, like I show you, like on the screen, you can't get it no more. Nope. That is the biggest kicker there. Look at that. Look at that screen. Ends March. Oh my God, man, that is just it just unnerving.
Yeah,
March 2021. I don't even understand that. What is about
yeah, same
March?
with the pins. The pins are going to be all over eBay for like $5,000 in a couple months. Like, really? Like,
Yes.
and Nintendo, you're not making a dime of any of this. It's just making, yeah, putting your name out there, but doesn't bring you any profit because you sold out too many times with nothing new. No one's going to
Literally,
care.
literally feel like they're inflating the market with trying to up their value of their old games, but not anything current.
I don't understand this business model at all. It makes no sense.
So yeah, and even if they're going to come out with a new console, let's just say they would. All they're going to do is port anything from this one to that one and resell you again. And this is why I think we need to just call out Nintendo for the BS that they're giving us, and basically stop supporting this model.
I agree. It's
Uh,
this is unconscionable. Like if Microsoft is or even Sony, oh my god, or any of these, EA, Activision with their like, oh my god, you see what happens when you do like with the rumor that this Tony Hawk 1 and 2 is going to have always online DRM. It turned out to be false, but people were in an uproar over that. It was about to be a real bad time, and luckily it was untrue. Uh, I don't understand. And no one, like, it's barely being mentioned, these issues, with the fact Mario 64 not being widescreen and all these other things. It's barely being mentioned. You have to go into forums like Reset Era, NeoGAF, to find out these details. It's not being mentioned anywhere online, and amongst the news outlets, IGN and what have you. They don't care at all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously between us gamers, we're vocal about it, but the media, I would say the media, some has spoken out about it, but it's not like an ongoing thing. I mean, today's what, Saturday, 2 days after the event, and it's kind of like, it's over. But technically, it's not over because these games ain't launched yet, and the expiration date for these games haven't came yet. So it's still a problem. You
Right.
know, anything. It's not just about games. And again, guys, I'm always about playing old games. I think backwards compatibility should be a must, but this is not backwards compatibility. This is definitely reselling you games that you already own. And I'm okay with it if you never owned it. That's not the core issue. The core issue is they're only going to make it available until March 2021. They charge you brand new $60 price tag, and there is no new content coming in between now and to next year.
Repeat, 0 new games. Nothing. Nada.
Right. And that is the hugest weight and the biggest pill to swallow is you're a Switch owner. This is what you chose to play, and here it is. You have no choices this fall.
Switch
You
was on
didn't-
track at one point, not to cut you off, but Switch was on track at one point to overtake the PS4. The PS4 that's already at like 120 million sold, to overtake that. All this momentum is dead now.
I mean, and I don't really care about the how many consoles they push, because at the end of the day, there's only so many games people buy.
Right, but
And that is what I'm getting at.
right, but the thing is, like, when you sell, but they were the one who were pushing this, and were on track because of their efforts, and they don't just pump the brakes; they both feet slamming on the brakes like they're trying to avoid hitting a wall. They're just stopping, and this was before COVID, as we said from the very beginning. This was from before COVID. At the beginning of the videos that PK is playing, there's that warning from Nintendo that maybe some of the stuff you would see in that may get delayed due to COVID. But Nintendo had hit the brakes hard from before the point when that became an issue. So what have they been doing for almost a year?
I mean, even last year, the only thing that they talked about was Animal Crossing. We got that early in this year, first quarter.
Yeah.
And then we got Paper Mario during the spring, but then what?
Yeah, you know, not to beat a dead horse, and so I'm going to leave it at this. It's like the old saying, "What have you done for me lately?" That's all.
You
That's
only good as the last favor you did for me.
yeah, very little. Very true. It just makes no sense at all. It makes no sense for their own sake. You know, like what are they going to sell?
You know, not to mention that the Switch hardware is being sold with faulty hardware as is. I mean,
You mean the
they
stick?
still, yes, they still ain't addressing the drift in the Joy Cons. I mean, the Joy Cons are still more expensive than any regular controller that you could buy. Right? There's $69.99, so there's $70+ for Joy Cons, and no one wants to keep buying Joy Cons because once you get done with the Switch, then what?
Hmm.
Like once they move on, they're not going to support Joy Cons anymore. That's why I'm never a fan of these
Yeah, and if they never
gimmicks.
fix them, like the
Yeah,
third party or just the spare extra ones that you buy out there won't have any fixed Joy Cons. And if you buy, a lot of people they keep their system even when the new one is out, and they still play the old ones, even if they buy the new one, they may or it's a hand me down to a kid or something. But if there's no working analog sticks out in the wild to fix them when they go bad, like what are people gonna do?
I mean, yeah, like if it's a regular controller, that's not a big deal. You
Yeah,
know, you can always get a third party controller. The problem is there's no third party Joy Cons. You
exactly.
know,
Which means there are no working
because
analog
yeah,
sticks that exist. Period. It's an issue now when the system is still selling, right? Although I imagine much slowed down, or after when it's been replaced, and every Switch is vulnerable to this, and pretty quickly the analog stick starts to having this drift issue. It doesn't take that long to
no, it
develop.
does. It
So
actually it didn't take
every
long to get
analog,
the drift.
yeah, so every stick will go bad. Every stick goes bad.
And
I don't.
I
And I'm just not a
typically use a
leader.
regular controller, and my I don't even use the Joy Cons,
Yeah.
and then
So
all of a sudden it gets a drift.
right. So in what way? How is Nintendo avoiding being in the legal crosshairs? Is
Oh,
class
they're
act?
definitely facing some court issues on
Oh, there's
this
a class
Joy-Con.
action. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm not saying that they will lose or win, but definitely they have been taken to court
Yeah.
for that that type of issue.
Yeah. They need to be. I mean, yeah. Like I say, it's not up to us to decide if they should or should not be guilty. I honestly do think they are because they continue to ignore it. They don't really talk or do anything about it. There's a lack of a concerted effort to address the issue, that continues to grow. So I'm not a lawyer, but that can't be good.
No, but the thing is, I think that's a good thing. I'm not against Nintendo. I just want them to be better. And
Right.
I've been saying this since last year that I think the reason why they're not putting their best effort is because they don't have a direct competitor.
They just don't have to put in effort because they're just doing so well for themselves. They think they can just sit there and coast.
Well, I would say they're doing okay, but again, I also feel like because they don't have anyone in their space threatening them,
Not
that they
at all.
just kind of giving us what they want us to have and just
They have no
being okay
competition,
with it.
basically.
Yeah. So in other words, in the other console space, like Nintendo and so we got B Shadow's guest appearing here. He's sharing his feelings on Nintendo. I'm agreeing with you, brother. That's what we're talking about. Is basically they're frauding the public
They're lazy.
and they're getting too many passes, and we definitely need to call them out for the BS that they've been doing. All right, bro, Mr. Adrian. That's my big brother right there. So I wanted to say, um, overall, I want everyone to just kind of open their eyes and stop supporting this kind of behavior. Like I'm all for the games. I'm all for the games, but they definitely are getting over by not uh, giving their consumers the same energy as as their well, not, I will say loosely competitors, because they don't really have a direct competitor, and
Counterparts,
that's,
let's say.
yeah, their counterparts. Um, they do definitely need to bring out a real system and not be 2 generations behind. Um, I realize. So I'm just reading what he's saying. He says to compete with the Series X and PS5 and give Mario and Zelda real graphics and grown up versions of their characters. So I agree that they definitely need to get up to speed with technology, to the point where all third party games can come to their platform and not just some, and then people have to do tricks to make it work. Because let's
It's
be
it's like I said, not to cut you off. It's like what I said during the Nvidia stream. There's a new line in the sand that's being drawn. You know, and if you're not on the right side, you're old and busted, not the new hotness. You know, despite everything that Nvidia showed in there, they're looking to be the front runner and to do very well, very successful. AMD is going to have these same features as well. And these new consoles have these same features, or at least the Xbox does. So the overwhelming majority of the gaming market is about to have a feature set that's common through most manufacturers. Nintendo is going to be on the other side of that. Now they do work with Nvidia, as I said. So if really the Switch Pro could have, you know, some of these technologies, DLSS being one of them, that would be an ultra perfect fit for Nintendo. You
Yeah,
know,
it'll work
exactly.
great for a
For their,
handheld for
yeah,
sure.
exactly. It was great for their use case. So, you know, this entire slowdown, everything we're saying that makes no sense to us, could be explained by the existence of a Switch Pro. But knowing Nintendo, they always go. You know, if you ever listen, who's that comedian from South Africa who runs that show now on Comedy Central? He's mixed race. I forget his name, but you know when he talks about his
You
home,
talking about the guy who does the Daily Show?
Trevor Noah. You know
Trevor Noah, yeah.
when he speaks of his home country of South Africa and the way, you know, the government does things with, you know, within the international community, like the international, he likes to joke that the international community will decide to take the right lane, right? Uh, if there's a fork in the road, they'll take the right. Where in South Africa, it's like, yeah, we'll take this left lane. We're gonna go around this really weird way, and we'll meet you up at the end. That's Nintendo. That's Nintendo being South Africa. You know, everybody's going on the right. They're going left to do this weird thing. So even though it looks like, you know, they're uniquely positioned to get a lot of these key technologies that would be perfect fits for them from Nvidia, I'd be less surprised if they just went in some other direction once again and didn't use most or any of these technologies on offer and be on the other side of the lane. That's
Right.
Nintendo for you.
Well, I'm gonna say, sick. We gonna wrap this up. So I think we need to say our final thoughts on this particular situation with Nintendo. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna go first and say that I wanted to talk about this because I'm infuriated by this situation. This is 2020, and Nintendo are doing the same old practices. I do not believe that they will be able to survive if they continue down the same path. They're going to have to, what's going to happen is they're going to go so far under that they're going to have to partner up with someone else to keep them alive. They might have to go the Sega route and be software only. I don't think it's going to come to the point where they're not going to make any hardware, because they do more than sell games, right? They have merchandise that make a lot of money as well. So I think in general they might change their strategy. The thing is, if they want to stay in this game space, they're going to have to upgrade and adapt to what the current world is doing and stop doing these old things. And if they having trouble putting out new content. They need to put out hardware that can put out at least the third party content. I mean, if you can't have a Call of Duty or a Madden on your hardware, then you're losing out, right? I mean, they don't even have Avengers. They don't have Avengers. They don't have Cyberpunk. At the very least, if you can at least have the third party games on your hardware, then you should be doing fine. But since a lot of it cannot run on the Switch, you're missing out. And I'm not saying you as a Nintendo, but I'm saying you as a consumer. And that's my thing is arbitrary creating demand for old games is really anti-consumer, and that's just my final thought on that.
Yeah, Nintendo is a company that made their bones being anti-consumer. Forcing publishers to only release a certain number of games per year on their platform. If they release games on their platform, they can't release them for anyone else. Which was found to be guilty of as monopolistic practices. I think 92, 93, something like that. Nintendo made their bones doing because their system was exclusive to many titles that made their name. So, but Nintendo is also the weirdo, the Apple-esque, where they do something so different, and then it makes very little sense. And they once in a while are successful, and they use that as an excuse to continue to perform this way. But of all their systems, they've actually have more failures than successes. More weirdo systems that didn't succeed or didn't succeed far as much as they could have. For example, the N64 not having discs and forcing games like Final Fantasy VII to the PlayStation, where it blew up. That's on that system and blew up the system. Many titles that would have stayed Nintendo exclusive, at their heights of that genre from Squaresoft and others. They did that, and countless other systems I can just mention from Nintendo that just didn't succeed because they want to be different. So Nintendo just needs to get up off of that and start being more traditional. Start seeing the obvious moves that they can make, because they have so much to offer that they just don't. And it's getting really foolish now. They're back in the same situation where the next Nintendo system, people are just going to get it to play Nintendo games, and it won't sell that well. And it's going to be a GameCube situation again, or a Wii U situation, even worse, if that. That's my opinion.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate that, Sick. And again, we just wanted to voice our frustrations and get it out because I'm not going to just give them a pass. I got to call them out. I'm sorry. I know everyone's talking about Avengers, but I think this is bigger than Avengers. This is a whole platform that's doing everyone dirty. And I think this is definitely important to talk about. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming through. If you guys want to continue talking about this, you can always hit us up on our social media. Sick, where can they find you at, brother?
You can find me on Twitter, SickSlayer, and everywhere great games are played, and every Friday now at 8:00 Eastern, correct? Or was that 7?
It'll be 8:00 Eastern.
8:00 Eastern. Now at 8:00 Eastern, every Friday on YouTube on GRG. Catch myself and PK.
Awesome. Yes. And you guys can also find me on Twitter at PKX Live. And if you can hit, I do believe I have everyone's channel linked in my channel section. So you definitely can get to them there. And I'll put 6, if you want, I can put your Twitter account down in there and you can find him and touch base with him if you got any questions for sure. Hey, thanks for coming, guys. Anyways, you have a good one and see you later. See you next time.
Peace.